Hi. So for me, it's just the emotional stuff, It's the
That's difficult?
yeah. It's like this fire and this sort of. It kind of it's in the belly and it
Yeah.
comes up and I just have a hard time coping. Basically, just everyday kind of life stuff, sort of, kind of routine kind of meltdowns and. I mean, just the rage and the fire is just, for me, is pretty debilitating.
Yeah.
It makes sort of...
Do you have a way in which you can really, or a time that you spend where you can really attend to allowing this stuff to come up?
I don't really have a choice with
I know
allowing.
you don't have a choice. I don't mean that. I know you don't have a choice. Right. But there's a difference between it just coming up, in your daily life, and it can be quite overwhelming and all that kind of stuff, and you making an intentional choice to, number one, allow it to come up and setting some time aside for it to come up. Because that's part of a human lifespan. That's also part of your spirituality, is at some point, the old lid gets torn off of what we've been holding down, right? Whether we want to or not. That's part of what happens. And what's there, whatever's unresolved, starts to come up into your consciousness, and it can be really uncomfortable. And it gets uncomfortable in many ways to the degree to which you kind of resist it. Do you know?
I guess,
or don't make time for it.
Yeah. I don't know how to make it part of sort of my, it's trying to sort of resolve, and there's this sort of deep aspiration towards unity and sort of the truth that was seen, but that was many years ago, and sort of, but there's this huge sort of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing where it's just this huge sort of, I don't know. I guess it's going to have to be a part of the sort of rage and the fire.
Yeah,
is going to have to sort of be included somehow.
It has
to. I don't know how to include it.
It has to, of course, because it's part of you.
Right. It is. And it's always been a part of me.
Right.
And it's in the family, and I think it's going to be. I think even if I was to sort of embody that truth, I think I would still be probably a fiery guy. I don't think it's going to completely. I mean, it wasn't there during that one day.
Yeah.
In Nirvana, it wasn't there then, but
right.
I don't know. I mean,
it's there now.
It's there every day. So
that's right.
I don't know how to work with it,
Yeah.
And then I have the substance abuse issues that I keep using that to sort of
tamp it down,
deal with it.
Right. Medicating yourself.
And then there's I feel bad afterwards, but I don't really take it out on people too bad.
Yeah.
But it's sort of my internal dialogue that I have with myself. And then it just makes coping and interacting with individuals difficult, and makes holding down a job difficult. Yeah. And I just, I feel despondent. You used that word before. And I'm at the point where it's like, all this karma. And it's like, I used to think I was gonna be able to get through this and resolve it and sort of be liberated being. But now I feel like there's just too much. There's just too much karma. There's just too much fear and rage.
It can feel like that sometimes.
To get through this,
Yeah.
And I feel despondent about it. And I feel
I'll
discouraged.
give you two things, all right?
Yeah.
The first thing is sort of something you can do for yourself. The second thing is, you might actually need to end up in some sort of therapy where someone can really help walk you through this stuff.
Right.
That's complete part of it too.
Right.
And a lot of times when people have had some sort of spiritual breakthrough, they think almost like that whole realm of stuff, isn't relevant, isn't useful. But it often is for not only just certain people, but there's quite a few people that find it to be a relevant way, because somehow that needs to be worked through, right? There has to be some wise way. So some things, I'll tell you something that you can do personally just with yourself. But also I wanted to include the other, because sometimes you just will keep losing yourself if you try to do it within yourself. Yeah. And that's just the way it is. Sometimes so if you can't, then get something that helps you. Get somebody that can help you with it. It's totally fine. It's part of it. At the end of the day, it's just all freeing yourself, right, of what causes you suffering. Now, having said that part, this is the last part. You're very right in the certain sense that we all have vast capacity of all sorts of different energies and experiences and emotions that can run through our system, right? And given our makeup and our life history and what's happened to us and all that kind of stuff, some of those great energies can get unintegrated, actually, into our system. So, you ever seen those, like in Tibetan Buddhism, where they have tankas of like different Buddhas? Mm-hmm. And some of them are real beatific and lovely and soft, and some of them are like vicious, right. Like dripping heads, severed heads with blood dripping off them. They got a sword in one hand, and all that. And what each of these things, what all these represent, they represent energies and potentials within all of us, right? Mm-hmm. And what they have people do is meditate on certain of those forms, almost like deity forms, so that you can really start to feel like you can embody that kind of energy, to feel it, to experience it, to let it come, course through your system, right? But of course, if you're meditating it almost more like it's a deity, then it brings you to the higher form of that kind of energy. Right, so the higher form of that kind of energy can even be rage, right? If you're not suppressing it and all that kind of stuff, but through embodying it that way, almost as a deity, as a representation of that energy, to feel it in yourself, allows that energy to reintegrate into your system, right?
That integrating into the system and the transmutation is sort of, it sparks my interest when you talk about that. I kind of have a thing about deities. I'm not really too likely to probably do a lot of visualizations with deities and stuff like that. I'm kind of turned off from that stuff. But would you say just to kind of be with it when it comes up without the story?
That's basically what I'm saying.
Okay. What if it's too much to be with and I have no idea how to be with it? What if it's just like...
Then get somebody that can help you with it.
Okay.
That's somebody who's there with you at the time, so that they can modulate how fast it comes out, keep it grounded, keep you from being sort of just completely taken away in it, right? And you just have to use wisdom inside of yourself, like just be really honest. Right. What can I do within myself? What do I need help with? And just be really practical about it, really honest about it. Mm-hmm. Do you know? Yeah. Because that energy, it's looking for its own kind of freedom, is it not?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. It's looking for to find its own equilibrium. That's what it's looking for. You're just helping it find it. So, if you can just really kind of allow that, the trick is to allow the energy to run through you on an energetic level. That's the key. Because a lot of times when you start to feel a lot of that energy or rage or whatever, it goes into images and ideas and whole storylines, and that all that does is keep it turning, right?
Right.
It keeps generating it. Whereas if you can actually feel the rawness of the energy itself, that's what can allow the energy to start to find its own equilibrium in you. Having said that, it's not going to do it just if you sit down for 30 minutes and bingo, it's all done. It's probably going to take a little bit longer period of time than that. That's why I say, but to approach it with a kind of intention and consciousness and go, okay, this time, today or each day I have some time where I consciously set aside, where I experience this just directly as an experience. Let it come through my system. Let the energy course through me. Your job is then to simply remain completely conscious, which means you don't get lost in the secondary spin in the mind. Now, you have to be honest with yourself about whether you can do that or not.
I haven't been able to do it with like any consistency, I would say. I'd say there are periods where where I have, and I have had, some help, like I saw a psychiatrist for a while, but I mean, I've got to find somebody certainly who can go beyond just Freudian thought, who also has one foot in sort of
That's right.
the non-existence of things,
Yeah.
the emptiness of things. So it's
like everything else.
I'm sure there are people like that out there for sure. I just gotta, but yeah, I mean, I think I probably need some help with it at this point because it's been going on for a long time.
Get some help, and you know that somebody can help you,
right?
Because when they've been working with you for let's say a month, you start to notice something starts to change.
Yeah.
If you work on it for a month or 2 months and you go, man, nothing's changing at all.
Right.
Well, buyer beware. Go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Literally. A lot of people, they go to somebody who's an expert and they're not actually helping themselves, but they just stay there.
Right.
Because they got a diploma. You'll know if you got the right person because it's actually really helping. You're actually really changing. That's the proof. That's the only proof. That's the only relevant proof there is. So I'd encourage that, but I'd also encourage take just that little time during your day to just sit down and go, okay, and it may not be there when you sit down and go, okay, now I'm going to make room for this. But just see what happens if you make a little room for it each day so you can experience it. And if you start getting lost, if you start getting into a thing where it starts to cycle on itself, right, and the whole story goes, and then you just get up. Don't let it start to cycle in an overly negative way, in a way that's not, again, this is all about what works, right? That's all spirituality is about. It's what's working. If it's working, great, then you do it. If it doesn't work, then you don't do it.
Love you, man. Thanks.
I love you too. That's what's underneath it, huh? I know. That's what's underneath it. That's right. Yeah. That's what's underneath it. Okay. Nice to be with you all. All right. Namaste.